Well, you know what they say, the show must go on. Scooby-Doo Stage Fright was released on August 20th, 2013 with a script written by Doug and Candy Langdale and directed by Victor Cook. Again, as I've said before, there's very little behind-the-scenes information available since by this point, Warner Brothers Animation was basically churning these things out like a well-oiled machine. The film opens at an opera house in Chicago, which is being set up for the finals of the popular reality show Talent Star. The production is being overseen by Dewey Ottoman, the extremely neurotic director, voiced by Peter MacNicol.
The garbage in this trash can is filthy. I want this garbage cleaned at once.
However, things are not going well at the theater as the production is being haunted by the monster du jour, simply called The Phantom. No, not him. Nobody saw that movie. The Phantom steals Dewey's clipboard, and then we cut to the gang arriving in Chicago.
Did you know Chicago is the third largest city in the U.S.?
Like, I know it has the best pizza.
Oh no.
Let the running begin!
The gang are here because Fred and Daphne are participating in the contest as a singing duo. And if you missed Fred and Daphne's on-again, off-again romance this time around, oh boy, is it on.
I really like you. I like it. Not you. I mean, I like you, but...
Smooth, Daph. Anyway, Scooby and Shaggy plan on crashing the finals and getting onto the show with their juggling act, not caring that it is not even remotely how that works, while Velma has other interests in the city.
The Mineralogical Society has the world-famous soap diamond on display.
After Shaggy nearly causes disaster to happen by putting Scooby in the driver's seat, we go to the opening credits. And honestly, not only is the Hirschfield style of animation really nice, this may be the best opening song that any of these movies have.
Just like Scooby and the gang, you'll be on my case.
The gang arrive at the Opera House, where the security guard won't let Scooby in because he isn't a service animal. And I'm sure this isn't going to lead to shenanigans here in a few minutes at all. Fred, Velma, and Daphne head inside to check in with Dewey, who isn't doing well.
What? Where? The Phantom!
The Phantom?
He keeps doing that.
A stagehand finds the clipboard the Phantom stole, which has an ominous warning written on it.
Christine must win?
Yeah, get used to this, folks. This one is going to homage the Phantom of the Opera a lot. Anyway, remember those shenanigans I mentioned earlier?
Well, go on in there.
Thank you!
Not gonna lie, that was a great way to subvert the expectations. As for the mysterious Christine, the Phantom is apparently referring to Chrissy Damon, voiced by Ariel Winter, a snotty little diva with equally obnoxious stage parents.
You have to talk to her before you talk to her to let her know you're going to talk to her.
Isn't that right, sweetie? Whatever.
Fortunately, there's a much more tolerable preteen contestant, Emma Gale, voiced by Isabella Akers. She's genuinely friendly to the gang and, helpfully for the plot, points out that there are cameras all over the Opera House to catch all the backstage nonsense. That's the real reason people watch shows like this. Then we meet the show's host, Brick Pimento, voiced by Wayne Brady.
There isn't a problem, nothing happened, and there's definitely no ghost.
Smooth. Anywho, the boys ambush Brick backstage to audition, but run into a snag.
1, all talent deserves a chance to be seen. And 2, juggling stinks.
The hastily improvised Plan B goes about as well as you expect, but before Shaggy and Scooby can try to track down Brick to try again, they're interrupted by a scream. The boys run and hide while Brick and the rest of the gang head for the control room where they see Chrissy being menaced by the Phantom on one of the monitors, but he's also appearing on several other cameras at the same time. Fred tells Velma to keep an eye on the monitors and keep him and Daphne updated on where the Phantom is over their phones. As Velma guides Fred and Daphne, she notices that Brick and the technician have other ideas for what's happening.
Fantastic! Ooh, should we use it for promos or leak it to Hutu?
Both.
Fred and Daphne wind up in a prop room where someone pushes a rack of axes over onto them. They manage to avoid being chopped in half. Meanwhile, back in the control room, Velma reports she's lost the Phantom. Scooby and Shaggy, on the other hand...
I smell lemons.
Yeah, I smell lemons too. You smell lemons?
Velma finds the Phantom and tracks him to a stairwell where he just vanishes right in front of the camera. Regrouping in the lobby, the gang encounter Dewey, who is not happy to see Scooby in the building. Wisely deciding to give the director space, the gang split up with Velma checking them into their hotel and doing online research, Shaggy and Scooby being sent to the library to look up the history of the Opera House, and...
I'll see what I can find out here in the building. Daphne, you come with...
Yes!
Told you the romance was at the forefront of this one. Anyway, at the hotel, Velma's attempts to check in is interrupted by Chrissy and her parents. While the parents browbeat the desk clerk, Velma checks to see if Chrissy is okay after her encounter with the Phantom.
That wasn't a scared scream, stupid. It was a happy scream, because he told me I'm gonna win the competition.
Velma also meets two other participants in the show, the great Paul Dini, voiced by John O'Hurley, who is, of course, a magician, and Waldo, voiced by Travis Willingham.
Hiya, Toots!
And I sit on his lap. It's funny and not at all demeaning.
Waldo, channeling huge Peter Dinklage energy, proceeds to nearly charm the pants off another band competing, Gurlosaurus Rex, despite most of the band's efforts to look surly. Back at the Opera House, Daphne asks a pertinent question.
Why do ghosts and monsters and stuff turn up wherever we go? Is it something about us?
No, this happens to everyone. It would be just too much of a coincidence if this only happened to us.
Okay, while the argument is compelling, I gotta do it. They then run into Mel Richmond, the Opera House's owner, who has basically fallen on hard times because he hasn't been able to do anything with the Opera House because of the history of the Phantom. Back in the 70s, Mel's father turned the Opera House into a disco where the Phantom wreaked havoc every night. Most of the patrons thought it was part of the show until the Phantom started actively destroying things and setting fires, ultimately wrecking the disco ball. The place was shut down shortly afterward, with Mel only recently able to rent the place to Talent Star.
Well, maybe I'll get lucky and he'll burn the place down so I can collect the insurance money, eh? or maybe I should put on a cape and mask and do it myself. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby's trip to the library is derailed by, what else? Pizza. And not just any pizza.
Yeah, but it's not on the menu. Oh, and you have to sign a release saying we're not responsible if you die.
The boys proceed to impress the hell out of the staff and the patrons when they devour the pizza in question, but their moment of glory is cut short by the arrival of Lotta, one of the other Talent Star contestants. Yes, it's another Phantom of the Opera reference.
I will feast upon their blood! Their families will weep over their smoldering corpses.
Needless to say, after a brief return to pay the check, the boys get the hell out of there and race back to the hotel where Velma theorizes that whoever the Phantom is, they may not be the same person as the one in the 70s due to the different costumes. And that their suspect pool includes Chrissy's parents, Brick, Dewey, Mel, and Lotta. And out of all of them, only Mel and Lotta weren't around at the same time as one of the Phantom's appearances. The gang decide to grab some shut-eye, and later that night, Daphne confesses to Velma that she loves Fred, to absolutely no one's surprise. Meanwhile, the Phantom of the Opera references continue as the Phantom breaks into Lotta's room and replaces her throat spray. At the same time, Shaggy and Scooby go in search of a vending machine and literally bump into the Phantom, sparking a chase, where the boys also literally run into Dewey. Eventually, the Phantom corners them on the roof, but Fred manages to drop a net on him from above. Except...
it's been cut!
Shaggy and Scooby notice something else.
Hey, no lemons!
Yeah, you're right.
Velma speculates that the Phantom's escape could have been executed by a magician, and the great Paul Dini is not around.
This just keeps getting more and more mysterious.
There's no such thing as mysterious.
How did you get hold of a net so fast in the middle of the night?
Well,
Oh my gosh, you sleep with a net, don't you?
You have.
The next day, the dress rehearsal happens, and while Emma's performing, Fred, Daphne, and Velma meet Emma's parents.
Without that prize money, the bank's going to take our farm.
Oh, that's terrible.
Later, when Lotta takes the stage, the predictable happens. While Fred and Daphne take the stage, the rest of the gang keep an eye out for the Phantom. Scooby and Shaggy spot someone running backstage and go up onto the catwalk to get a better look. It turns out to be Brick, who they fall on.
We thought you were the Phantom!
What? Why would you think that? That's crazy.
Paul Dini's act goes off without a hitch, and when Waldo goes on, he's on fire. Literally.
Hey, Huffnoggle, do you smell something burning?
Waldo drops out of the competition, and Gurlosaurus Rex doesn't fare much better when their instruments fall apart when they try to play. The Phantom shows up on the video screens, and the cameras are no help because they're showing him literally everywhere in the Opera House. Gurlosaurus Rex drops out of the competition.
Think we can catch up with Waldo?
What do you mean, we?
Come back here!
Again, huge Peter Dinklage energy. Anyway, Velma figures that the frontrunners in the competition are Fred and Daphne, Emma, and Chrissy. Since the Phantom wants Chrissy to win, that makes the other three the prime targets. Fred has Velma convince Emma's parents to take her somewhere safe, and sets up a trap, and this time he and Daphne are going to be the bait. Unexpectedly, the Phantom shows up in the closet where Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby are hiding, but immediately disappears. The gang find a small door in the back of the closet and head through, figuring that's where the Phantom is gone. It leads, of course, to the sewers, where after a few life-threatening mishaps, the gang finally confronts the Phantom in his lair.
Well, this is embarrassing. Wow, I wish I had the last 40 years back.
Mr. Phantom?
Steve Trilby.
While Steve is the Phantom who terrorized the Opera House back in the 70s because he hated the fact it was a discotheque, he says he hasn't been up to the surface except to get food in almost 40 years. Velma believes him, especially since Steve has no clue what's been happening at the talent show. Suddenly, a scream rings out and the gang race back to the surface where they find Paul Dini hanging from the catwalk, along with the Phantom.
Oh no! It's the Phantom!
I'm going after him. Watch the exits.
While Scooby and Shaggy put out the fire, Fred tussles with the Phantom, who gets the upper hand until Steve swings in, colliding with him. Both crash to the ground, allowing Velma to yank off the Phantom's mask.
Mel Richmond?
And while Mel was trying to burn the place down for the insurance, there's a problem.
If you wanted the insurance money, why didn't you just burn the place down? Why do all the other stuff?
I didn't.
And sure enough, just after the security guard realizes Scooby got into the building and chases the boys off...
Christine must win!
I want as many officers as you can spare here for the show tonight.
The boys manage to evade the guard just in time to spot Brick lurking out of the sound room. They, of course, try to audition again, and Brick calls security on them. The rest of the gang show up, and Velma reports that Paul Dini has dropped out. Brick doesn't seem to care, though, because the Phantom's antics have upped the publicity for the show. While Brick takes Fred and Daphne off to show them the projected audience numbers, Velma goes into the sound room and finds a live microphone jacked into the speakers on the stage. She then goes to the control room and asks if she can look through the archive of camera footage.
Sure, but there's like 2,000 hours of footage in there.
That night, the finals go on, and while Chrissy's on stage, the Phantom makes his move.
Gotcha. You were right, Emma. You do make better bait than us.
However, the ensuing chase comes to an almost immediate end and a reveal.
Lance Damon?
As Lance is taken away by the cops, Dewey shows up to tell Fred and Daphne they're on deck, letting Brick know in the process.
Hey, your grandfather smells like a dog.
Yeah? Well, you smell like lemons!
While Fred and Daphne go on stage, Shaggy and Scooby arrive backstage looking for Dewey, but nobody can seem to find him.
Well, wherever he is, he's still wearing his headset. I can hear him. He's breathing hard. Sounds like he's running and he's muttering. Something about soap.
Shaggy and Scooby round up the rest of the gang, letting them know that Dewey is the latest Phantom, and they head out to stop him, tracking his movements with the earpiece. Dewey, realizing he's been caught, trips over his own cape and drops the diamond, which Scooby manages to catch. Dewey, who apparently got his license from the Cruella de Vil School of Driving, starts chasing the gang down to get it back. Dewey manages to snag Scooby on the hood and recovers the diamond. The rest of the gang give chase in the Mystery Machine. Scooby manages to get the diamond back and into the Mystery Machine while Dewey crashes into a truck inexplicably hauling barrels of pink slime. As you might imagine, this does nothing to improve Dewey's mood, and he heads off after the gang again. The chase is seemingly in danger of coming to a halt when traffic stops for a drawbridge.
Give me that bag!
The van peels out and up the inclining bridge with Dewey close behind. Dewey runs the van off the side of the bridge, but losing his car in the process. He threatens the gang, who manage to distract him long enough to get out, but the distraction doesn't last long.
Why do you want this diamond so badly anyway?
I need it to complete my collection of cleanliness-themed treasures.
Fred throws the bag off the bridge, and Dewey leaps after it, landing, appropriately enough, on a garbage barge that's sailing under the bridge. And that's not all.
Yucky! A slobbery dog bone!
Ooh, too bad.
Back at the talent show, Emma finishes up her act and the voting closes, leaving Chrissy dead last and Emma tying with Fred and Daphne. The police, thanks to a phone call from Brick, give the gang a ride back to the show. But if you think we're done with the reveals...
This is gonna blow your socks off.
Arriving back at the show, Velma says they need to make some arrangements, while Fred and Daphne are informed they need to perform a new song for the tiebreaker. Now, I didn't mention this earlier as it's a really minor thing, but earlier in the movie, Fred was working on some new music, and during the girl talk scene, Daphne told Velma she wrote lyrics for it. And so,
I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
And yes, this time, Frank Welker does get to provide Fred's singing voice. Anyway, right out of the gate, it looks like Fred and Daphne are going to win, as their score starts out higher than Emma's and just keeps climbing. But because Fred and Daphne are, you know, good people, they do the only thing they can to make sure that Emma's family gets the money they need.
Say, Fred, what vegetable do you get when you cross a dog with a rose?
I don't know, Daphne.
A cauliflower!
And of course, while Fred and Daphne lose the contest, there's still one more victory for the night.
Roll the footage.
Huh? You don't understand. I had to do it. The ratings have been dropping for years. I needed the publicity.
And just to finish things off, Talent Star gets an impromptu new host.
This is Steve Trilby for Talent Star saying, if you've got the talent, we've got the star. Good night, America.
But no, we still aren't quite done, and if you think this is the end of Fred and Daphne's on-again, off-again romance...
And does he know that I really like him?
How many times do I have to say it? Just talk to him.
And does she know that I really like her?
How many times do we have to say it? Just talk to her.
Scooby-Doo Stage Fright is probably one of my favorite movies in this series overall. It feels like a classic Scooby-Doo episode with some additional twists that make it really interesting. Fred is less of a dummy in this one, and while I don't really care about the romantic subplot, it's executed really well with some funny and touching moments. I particularly enjoyed the multiple perpetrator solution, and it's just a good time all around. Check this one out if you haven't seen it yet. It's that rare Scooby movie with very few flaws and a lot more fun to watch than usual. And so, we close the curtain on another of the 30-plus films of Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
Here come those meddling kids to join the chase. No creep can keep them away.